Welcome to the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie, powered in part by Classic of Denton. The views and opinions expressed by the show hosts and their guests are those of the show host and guests, and not necessarily those of the sponsors, DentonRadio.com, or the Denton Convention and Visitors Bureau. For more information, visit the Policies and Procedures page at DentonRadio.com.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie here at Denton Radio on the Square. It is a wonderful evening tonight. A little windy. I don't know why it kind of reminds me of Halloween tonight.
Ooh.
I'm ready to go back to Halloween. I'm not ready for the rest of the holidays just yet.
Oh, me too.
I know. I'm like, it feels like Halloween. Let's go back.
Favorite day, yes.
Anyway, tonight we have Randal M. Good here I was going to say the office. I'm like, no, it's off. I'm off the clock already.
We're off the clock,
yes. In the studio with us tonight. And we're going to be talking to him about all of his happenings here in Denton with his artistry. And thank you so much for being here, Randal.
Thank you, Ellie. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Really
I've been
good
trying to get you in here forever. And I finally got it together. And I'm like, hey, we better book him now.
It's great. It's great
before
to be
he
here.
takes off to Europe on a world tour or something.
It's coming.
Yes, it is. So what's been going on? Who is Randal? What are you about? Let's talk about who you are as a Dentonite.
Oh, who am I as a Dentonite? Well, I am a UNT graduate, studied painting and drawing and art history there. I made my way to Denton via Louisville. Used to live in California.
Wow.
And my folks brought us back to Texas to be with family, be near family. So went to high school at Louisville, played baseball, big baseball family, played a little college baseball. And then it's interesting, it's funny, when I was actually playing baseball at Paris Junior College and took a couple of great classes with Dean Chaney. And he was such a great guy. He loved baseball. And we'd come out and he'd watch all the games and he's like, oh, you had a great game. And he would say this after, in class, in the middle of class, like, hey, Randal, you had a great game,
Yeah.
And so I would start meeting with him after the classes, and he'd notice my sketchbooks.
Oh, wow.
He's like, look at all these drawings, look at that. He's like, you should pursue that. So in a weird way, baseball, and then, going through baseball and then meeting with Dean Chaney, and he encouraged me, and he's like, UNT's got a great art school. That's your neck of the woods. And so that's kind of how I would up back here.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, it couldn't have been two different worlds and they just collided. And
Totally.
That is,
Totally.
okay, so do you feel that you would have eventually landed in the same spot, or was it just, it was meant to be right there?
That's a good question, Ellie. I don't know, because I think I probably would have, because in school, I was one of those kids that didn't take notes. I was just doodling. I was
Really?
just drawing pictures. I shouldn't confess this, or shouldn't admit this, but my mom still has the drawings that I did back in grade school.
Oh,
my,
wow.
My dinosaur phase and my soldier phase, my football player phase. She still has those. So I think probably as much as I drew, I was destined to go down this path.
That's pretty cool. Okay, I would be one of the moms that would be like, I'm going to collect all of these photos and put them in a book for you when you publish that big book.
Yep.
And I would definitely add that in, and
you would
throw it in there. What else can you throw in
That's
there?
right. Yeah, exactly.
Some art, maybe. No,
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So you transitioned from baseball into art, and at that point, obviously, you were being encouraged by someone in a different realm that was like, "Hey, these,
Sure.
So you pursued it.
Absolutely.
Did you take off with it at that point, or did it take you a while to be like, you know what, maybe not?
I don't know. I know for me, it took me a while to sort of give myself permission to be an artist. I mean, you're an artist. We're creative people, so the spiel is like, how are you going to make a living?
Yes.
You should, do art as a hobby, but get a quote unquote real job.
Yep.
Right?
We've all heard it.
Right.
Definitely.
So I think that the biggest thing was like convincing myself, giving myself like permission to do that. But even that being said, even that journey was still baby steps. I went to UNT and it was definitely, art driven. But but I didn't commit to being a full-time artist. So I went into art restoration. I was restoring 18th and 19th century easel paintings for a while, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Shara Goodson at Art Restoration, she's so great. She was such a great mentor and taught me some stuff that I wouldn't have learned in any other field. But that was just a baby step towards like, okay, that's a real job.
Yeah.
Just
in an area that I like.
Yes, exactly.
You're wetting your feet, basically.
Exactly. You still have a toe in the art world, but you're, moving forward. And then, eventually, well, you and I were talking a little bit before we got on the air. It's like you do the things to feed your passion. So, you work the odd jobs and this, and then you work your way into like, now I can really be that full-time creative person, and I'm very fortunate to have gotten to that point, and my wife's amazing success, like, that's made it real.
So I want to touch on that because a lot of people, and this is obviously going to be a personal decision for every individual artist, but a lot of people hold on to that fear so tightly that they lose sight of the fact that they are already equipped to fly, and that, we just get so stuck in the norm, in that comfort zone of the 9 to 5, that, it's like, what could I be doing if I let go? Right. So how did it feel for you? I'm sure it felt amazing, but I want to hear from you when you finally made that decision. You're like, I have to take flight.
Well, you know what? That's a great question. And I've done some talks at some colleges. My good friend Tom Richard, who's an artist and the head of the art department at University of Arkansas at Monticello, had me come out and talk to the students. And I asked him, I said, what do you want me to tell? Do you want me to give them like the real truthful answer, or do you want me to sugarcoat? He's like, no, give them the real answer. So the real answer to your question is like, yeah, there's that fear before you commit and become that, you really, really commit and become the full-time creative person that you want to be. You're there's the fear of committing, exactly like you said. Once you do that, then there's that other fear of like, what if I fail? So you, in a way, you're trading one fear for the other. But what I would say to you is, once you commit, it's so empowering because you really are working for yourself at that point. You're being true to yourself. If that makes
Yes, definitely.
Makes sense.
I mean, you hit it right on the head. I didn't think about it that way. You're trading one fear for the other, and the other one has more benefit, so to speak, because of the personal freedom as a person, as an artist, as a business person even, because it's your business at that point. I can only imagine, when somebody actually lets go of the regular, normal 9 to 5 and takes flight with that, how much fun and fear is just mingled together that it's a rush.
I give you that like pessimistic answer, and it's really empowering. Yeah. It really is. And you're trading sort of these material concerns for the spiritual rewards, for your soul. And it's so edifying. It's so great.
I can imagine. And it's a matter of survival at that point too, because it's like, if you want to eat, you got to move. You better do your art, do whatever it is that you're putting your mind to. So at that point, it's like, I'm now relying on myself.
So right. Yeah. So it's such a motivator.
Yeah, definitely. So you have a very, very unique style of art. It is unlike anything that I have seen. And I may be, not in the all-knowing of everybody's art here, and I admit that, but it is very unique, and to me, it's very classic.
That's right.
Very European, very,
Very much so.
So let's talk about the development of your style, because you did start with dinosaurs. I'm just kidding.
I did. I can't
dinosaurs
lie.
and soldiers.
I can't lie.
How did you find this style? Because it's so distinct. It's very, very, I could tell you, it looks like something you would find in a chapel.
Thank you.
So I know that you've touched on that in your post as the era of style.
Absolutely. I think, I was having a conversation with a young artist the other day, and he said, how do you find your style? And it's a great question. It's a really hard question to answer, but I think your style finds you. Going back to the dinosaur days or the soldier days, one thing that was constant was I was treating some type of figure. I love landscapes, but I don't don't paint them. I love the human figure. That was always what I was drawing and sketching. And I always liked the way that a well-composed figure, and by that I mean with expressive poses or musculature or attenuation, could tell a story or could convey this emotion. So that was always central to my work. And over the years studying Michelangelo, who is he's my guy, like in my pantheon, he's the top guy, and then everybody else is down here. So clearly I was influenced by the Italian Renaissance and a very particular group of artists that came right after the High Renaissance, known as Mannerists. So the Mannerists would take the human figure and they would exaggerate the musculature or the poses, or they would make them very elongated and lean, and I just loved that aesthetic. So from day one, I was working with that and using that human figure as a vehicle to convey some emotions, and now ideas and concepts as well.
And it's very funny to contemplate like a statue, for example, that is in the same style, and how it conveys the strength or the struggle. And you're wondering, it looks like he's reaching for, trying to save somebody's life, and the way they're extended in their, like you say, all the musculature and whatnot. And it's just so neat to because I think of this style and I associate it with European style, and I associate it with the big Colosseum museum type stuff, and the statues and the paintings. So I definitely identify that those types of I guess verbs that you're describing very much is very, how do you say, it's expressed in the body, like you said.
Totally.
It's expressed in the body. A lot of I guess mythology too, that you have obviously talked about as well on your page, but it's all in there. It's wrapped in there together.
I love when people feel it. I guess, just a little confession. I really love it when I have a show, when works are up on the wall, and I'll see a viewer and they will really get engaged with the piece, and I see them starting to move their body and assume the pose that's right there in front. Like, oh, that's a good sign. I've grabbed them.
Well, because they're mimicking at that point. They want to feel what they're seeing.
Absolutely.
They want to feel what that image is feeling.
Right.
And it's very, I can see a few people trying to do that, especially something very heroic.
Exactly.
And,
Or
yeah, definitely.
Is that possible?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's a very beautiful, beautiful classic style. It obviously, and when you look at, I don't know if you guys have ever seen his paintings, but when you look at his artwork, it's very, very detailed as well. There's always something else going on within the photo, not just the image, but there's always other things going on. And that's something I was curious about because of the explanation of everything going on in the detail. And some of them have very elaborate names that I will not attempt.
We'll circle back to that.
Yes.
It's a whole thing unto itself.
That's always a curiosity to me too, because the ones that I have seen, I've been exposed to, did have a lot of stuff going on in them, and they were just very elaborate.
Right.
So.
Well, most of these, especially the new work, have stories, backstories, if you will, as you and I were talking, and you just alluded to. Many years ago, I started writing my own creation myth, and the reason I went down this road was I found it very, very interesting. I love Homer and Hesiod and Ovid. I love reading the old Greek and the Greek and Roman myths, and I was also searching for new subject matter, some subject matter that's never been treated before. A lot of my work is Judeo-Christian. I do a lot of altar pieces and chapels and so forth. But those have been Saint Sebastian and resurrections. They've been treated many, many times.
Yes.
So I was looking for this new,
untouched terror. Yeah.
Exactly. So I started writing this mythology. So a lot of the new work, indeed 99% of the new work, is related to these writings. And so the characters take on these demigod type personas where they will personify spring. So you were talking about the pronunciation. So Niabella is my angel or demigoddess of spring. and this is a long way, circle back to your question, the reason for all this ornate, decorative, background and attributes, those actually help tell the story. So there's the figure that's usually central, that has his or her backstory. Is she spring, or is she the angel of the last tree on earth? Is she winter or summer? Or is she the demigod of the waters or waves? They have their backstory, but then their intricate halos and emblems and symbols that are a part of their background, their halo, their being, further that story. There's symbolic little elements and decorative motifs that help further that story. And the idea, the hope is that people will see it and say, oh, well, that's pretty, that's beautiful. They'll come engage it, and then they'll go deeper and deeper and want to hear these stories as well.
So I'm going to ask you the next natural question, which would be, okay, you have your paintings, but where would somebody find the actual stories?
That's a very good question. And curiously, when I started making up these stories, I had no intention of anyone ever reading them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to come up with this methodology for subject matter for these,
it's your
these
foundation.
paintings.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought, well, I'll hint at it or I'll allude to it, but no one's ever going to want to hear the stories. Well, I wrote a few down. My business partner, Deshawn Scavo, saw them, and she saw some of the drawings, and then she said, what's this? and she said, and I said, well, I'm writing some stories. And she saw the stories, and she made me read them to her and my wife, and we spent all night going through these stories. She's like, people would love this. People love the art, but they would love these stories.
Yes.
So my wife and business partner strong-armed me into doing some readings at some of the shows, and they were right. People did really respond to the stories. So some of them are written down. For instance, the show that I have coming up at UNT on the Square, there's an exhibition book that goes along with it that you can purchase or see, that has the backstories of many of these
Cool.
characters. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I know that a lot of, when you think about art, it is up to the person viewing its interpretation, which is great. But when there's something else behind there, it's almost like a little treasure hunt, kind of, at least that's how I would feel.
Right. Yeah.
And so when you get those little tidbits, you kind of get that excitement because you're like, I knew it, and so it's almost like you're doing an investigation and you're on the right track, and or you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that, or so there's surprising elements to your art as well, I would imagine. So I would think that would be a fun aspect of your artistry because they're so intricate in detail. So that would be a beautiful form added into the obvious, which is the painting itself or the art. So you're going to be doing this. Let's talk about that show.
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk about that show. So you're going to be doing a show at UNT on the Square. Nice little place over here to display.
It's such a beautiful gallery.
It is. It really is a beautiful gallery, and it's right on the square. What else could you ask for? I mean, it's a nice place.
It really is an embarrassment of riches because it's a great space.
Yes, definitely.
Herbert Hull, Meredith Buey, they're two of the most wonderful people on the planet to work with.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm really, really happy to be there.
Nice. So you're going to be displaying all of this beauty there. And so when is that going to be happening? Because I want to make sure that all our viewers get...
Yeah, we got to plug it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the opening reception, which is, and I'll talk about this is really the night to come out. I really hope people will come out, is Friday, December 13th.
Okay.
The doors technically open at 5:30.
Okay.
Goes till 9 p.m. And then really, really special events going on that opening night. Local musician Lisa West.
Yes.
She's so fantastic.
Yes, she is.
She and I have collaborated. I say collaborated loosely because she's the musical genius, but she read some of these stories that we've just been talking about the angel of spring and the last tree on earth. So she has written original music
based
on these stories. So she will be performing her music at 7 p.m.
Nice.
during the opening on that Friday the 13th.
Well, you got Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Wow. Okay, so this is a good date night. This is definitely something you can do by yourself.
Yes.
You can do it with guys. You can do it with girls. It is something to be appreciated. And Lisa is awesome. We were talking about her earlier. Props to you, Lisa. She is just an amazing musician, and she sings. So depending on what she does for you, because I don't know what
she's going to be singing. She's
Oh,
got the
wow.
cello. She's going to
Yeah.
have somebody's going to be playing the piano to
Very
accompany her. I mean, her
nice.
voice is beautiful. I mean, going back in time, the first time I heard her sing, I've been working on my art for a long time in these stories. And in the back of my mind, I always thought, man, these would be really
Yeah.
interesting if someone could write some music
Yeah.
or something to it. And we heard Lisa perform, and I turned to Anadara, my wife, and I said, "That's the voice that I would like, to,
Yes.
to really, give voice to these characters and these songs." I've heard them. What she's done, they're beautiful.
Let's see if you can describe her in the same word that I'm thinking of. How would you describe her voice? Just to give her some props here.
Ethereal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is
that
is my word. That's
Right.
how I think of her when I hear her singing.
100%.
And again, that's a very rare sound here in Denton, and she does it very well. So
She does.
Lisa, props to you, and
Yep.
thanks for shouting out to Lisa.
Of course.
I cannot wait to hear you guys together or see you guys together, because pairing like that is just an amazing experience. I love doing it myself when it comes to poetry and art.
Yes.
We do it often.
Oh,
at
you're a
the-
master at it. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. When we do our events, we do some of that too. So it's always fun to see the beauty just come out,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to have a great time there. So how many pieces are you going to be presenting?
So there'll be over 30. I don't know what the
wow.
final count will be. But the interesting thing, at least I think it's interesting, and hopefully other art nerds out there will think it's is interesting, is that I will have 13 or 14 of the large scale pieces that we've been referencing with the fully drawn out figure and the elaborate gold leaf halos and stuff. But inclusive of that, I will be showing several of the concept drawings, the little
Nice.
small
Behind the
pieces.
scenes.
Exactly. And what we found over the years is people really like to get behind the scenes, like see the
Yes.
nuts and bolts and how
Yep.
these things,
That's
come
pretty
together.
that's pretty awesome, because I know, people want to know how things are done,
Yeah.
and a lot of art is inspired by other artists, and you sit there and you see the process, and you don't know whose light bulb is going to go off when looking at your stuff and going,
Right.
oh my gosh, okay, this is what I need to be doing. So I feel like, stepping into someone's art gallery or show or whatever the art is you're inspiring someone at all times. You just don't know about it. I mean, somebody could be there just for the sake of going to an event,
Right.
supporting friends, being nice, whatever the reason, but there's always going to be somebody there that takes a piece of you with them and kind of plants it in their little
I
planner.
think you're right.
Yeah,
I do.
definitely.
I
I
do.
mean, there's your artistry is done very beautifully. So I know
you.
that there's going to be quite a few fans there that night.
I hope so.
I hope you get a bunch of first timers too.
I do too.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
I just saw that this was open and I happen to be walking. I love when
Yeah.
people do that, because then it's a pleasant
Absolutely.
surprise.
Yeah.
So what else do you have going on aside from that? I know that's a big chunk to begin with, and so I know that keeps you busy. So
It does. Getting ready for shows is always.
yeah,
I mean, you're a creative person too, so like that
It's like-
nitty gritty.
it's like bye.
yeah, you get insulate and get ready for
Yeah.
that. But one of the things that I would love to talk about is I had the opportunity to work on a documentary film
Oh, nice.
with Rania Al-Malki, she's a adjunct professor at UNT.
Nice.
And I got to do the artwork for her. She
Very
came,
nice.
we collaborated. She's such a great director. She's like, this is my story that I want to tell. I need some artwork. That's finished, and now she's starting the festival circuit. That was really interesting to work on, because
Wow.
it's so different,
Yeah.
from doing these frame pieces that go up on the walls, to actually see this, kind of this movement and when you turn it over to another artist and what they can do with
That
it,
is
it's
pretty cool.
really, yeah.
Okay, now what is it? Okay, I know it's a documentary,
Yep.
but what is it that she
So the title of the film is 489 Days.
Okay.
And it's a gripping story about a young man who was falsely or wrongly imprisoned during
wow.
the protests in Cairo. And
Okay.
he actually was on a hunger strike.
Oh wow.
And they just barely kept him alive. Just barely kept him alive. But he was on the hunger strike for 489 days
Oh
until
my
he was
gosh.
finally released. But he was held without due process, without access to an attorney,
Oh man.
no rights whatsoever. And then comes to find out there's still thousands of prisoners like him,
Yeah.
still to this day.
I know.
So that was,
A pretty profound piece, I would imagine,
very.
as far as the subject matter. And you provided the artistry for that.
I got to do some still sketch like drawings, very very emotional and sketchy, like almost like war report, like you just rattle them off really, really quickly. And she photographed them, so well and told the story.
Okay.
It was really, really nice to work.
Make sure you pass on that link to that or a plug for it. I would love to share her work and your work on that on the Denton Vibe and Denton Radio as well. I know we can plug that in after fact, but that sounds pretty amazing too. So I bet you that was really exciting. Yeah. So aside from that, where can people find your work? Where can they find you aside from UNT on the Square? So if they want to commission a painting, do you do commissions?
I do a lot of commissions. Okay. It's fun. Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually want to do a lot of commissions because you alluded to it earlier. You don't see a lot of this work out there. It is different, which is good. It's very specific. Yeah. It's very niche. So I wound up doing a lot of commissions. But the easiest way to contact me would be through my website, which is randalmgood.com. Okay. It's got to have the M, randalmgood.com.
Okay. GOOD. Just so you
like
know.
Good, bad, and ugly. Yeah, no.
So a lot of times we just love to throw in that extra letter because it sounds good to us.
And it looks good. I mean, it looks kind of.
Yeah, I know. So, okay, you guys make sure you check out his website. Come out to the UNT gallery opening and be there on the gallery opening day is usually the best, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And obviously, Lisa Littlejohn West will be out there at 7.
Yep.
And then you can find out what the backstory is on those paintings. And let's talk about some of the names of the paintings real quick. I had to bring it up. Yep. What are they going to see there? Let me put it this way. What is your favorite painting there? And I know that might be hard.
That's so tough. I love them all. They're like my little babies. And maybe this is true. We don't have kids, so I don't know. But maybe there are days when some of your children are like more, better behaved than your other children, or you like them a little bit more. I don't know. That's possible.
Hey, it sounds normal to me.
But like right now, I'm just so in love with a character. His name is Ty Pontus in the book, and actually his backstory is during the creation of the cosmos, when the Earth was formed, it had no water. So he actually collected the water. He actually collects the tears from other angels or demigods, collects all this water and brings it back to the earth. And during that process, he divides it into the rivers, lakes, and seas. But his name is Ty Pontus. And right now, I love that character and I love that piece because he's got the very elaborate halo, of course, and then he's got this tripartite or 3-piece urn that he has he holds the waters in that he's dumping out, so you get to see him. And then Lisa did a song about the last tree on earth, which is and that demigod or that angel's name is Agostatius, and he in brief, he basically gives his life to save the last tree on Earth after this horrific war. And he sort of, almost for lack of a better, sort of crucifies himself on this tree, but he's really letting his life force, his essence, go into this tree to save it. And he winds up becoming the father of all the trees that we have, on our planet. And that's a beautiful, beautiful song that she does. And it goes with I think a really, really beautiful painting.
Very interesting. So do you put a little bit of your, and I don't mean this in the painting artistic aspect of it, but a little bit of yourself and your character in each of those paintings, as like this demigod or this one is a little bit like me. like, I would act like this. Like,
I think you can't help it as a creative person. It's kind of, or at the very least, it's like how you wish you were, or like I would like to be this, this noble and heroic, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I would probably have a whole bunch of, I want to be like this. I want to be like
You're
this.
a diva. You'd be like beautiful and all of them.
Thank you. Thank you. But I would definitely, somebody like my sisters would be the first one. They look like you. They all look like you.
You say, well,
why
what's
do you make
wrong
them
with
all,
that?
I know. My sister would be like, why do they all look like you?
That's what
No,
siblings.
they don't.
That's what they're for. That's what they're supposed to. What they're supposed to do.
Oh man. So, is there anything else you want to mention to the beautiful Denton, city of Denton and beyond? 'Cause this goes everywhere. This is going to Europe.
Oh, hey, nice.
Wish it out there.
That's right. Hey, I can't wait to be back. We can't wait to be back in Europe. But we love Denton. I don't want to close on a bittersweet note or anything like that, but I would like to mention that my show at UNT on the Square, and the name of that show is Cantos from the New Pantheon. That's actually going to be the last art show at UNT on the Square. Before it changes, it's still going to be there, but it's going to transition into a place for the School of Hospitality. So it's a little bit bittersweet. I'm humbled and honored and a little bit sad because it is such,
it is
a beautiful space.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're kind of.
You better party like a rock star, Randal.
I think we will.
You better get that on film too, because that's going to be a classic last event. You better get all the photos you can.
It is going to be good. So, I mean, it's even more reason to please come out there. And
definitely. You guys go out there and support UNT on the Square, their last showing, and go take them out with a bang too.
Absolutely.
Hey, they deserve it. They've been out here forever, and a lot of beautiful shows and showings. So thank you, Randal, for being here.
Thank you, Ellie.
Thank you for sharing your beautiful artistry with us, and come back anytime.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So you guys stay tuned. We have 2 shows tonight, and I'm really excited to have the short list here in the studio. They're already here, so you have to stay tuned. We're going to wrap it up here tonight with Randal, and we're going to send out the good vibes for the week, and you guys eat as much turkey as you possibly can, because we have to wait a whole year usually. So y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next week, or in a little bit actually.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We want to thank our partners and sponsors who made this show possible. And now stick around for a word from all of us here at Discover Denton. Do you love live music? If so, make Denton, Texas your next vacation. Find more information at discoverdenton.com.